everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Karina and welcome back to Ready Set Pan. Today, declutter number 8 already. Oh my goodness. Now normally how my declutters work is when I get 5 items that I want to declutter from my collection, I come here, I make a video giving my review of the 5 items so that you guys know my thoughts and the reason why I'm decluttering. But today is going to be more similar to declutter, I believe it was number 4 that I did on my channel, where I want to rip eyeshadow palettes apart. Because not just eyeshadow, I have some face palettes too. But the reality is, I've gone a lot, and these are basically all from BoxyCharm, just about. A couple exceptions, but the thing is that my collection has grown so big that it's hard to know what I like, what I want to reach for. Like, I'm still trying to use my eyeshadow project to figure that out. And I've got things in front of me that I know I want to get rid of, or I want to get rid of certain colors, but I want to keep some. Because again, even if it came to me in BoxyCharm, I still put my money towards it. So whatever I feel is valuable for me, I want to keep those shades. And of course, I will try to rehome the rest of this. It's not going straight into the garbage because, again, good product, just not good product for me. Or it doesn't fit my color preferences, or etc., etc. So, I have finally gotten 3 of these. These are the Meraki Pro palettes. So I have ordered these. They have come in. And we're going to see how far I'm able to get with these. This is what the palette looks like. So just a simple, nice, easy, a black palette here. Pretty easy to open. Lots of space right on here on the inside. Is magnetic. Unfortunately, most of the eyeshadows and the things I'm putting in here are not. So I do have 3 of these palettes. I have 2 of them already, and I will show you those. That's where I keep my singles or my depotted stuff. So one of them is going to be focused on the face palette. So I really only have 2 things here. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an overview of the face palettes I want to rip apart, the pile of eyeshadow I want to rip apart, and then I'm going to take you through it. I'm going to show you guys how I depot stuff, and we'll see how many casualties we have. Hopefully not too many. And we're going to go from there. I'm going to take you on that journey with me so you can see how I do it. I am in no ways a professional at all, okay? Just full disclaimer, this is going to be only the 2nd time I've ripped apart eyeshadow palettes. I've literally only done it once, and that was a few months ago when I ripped apart 3 different palettes in declutter number 4. So that's my disclaimer there. We'll see what I'm able to do. So we'll do that, and then we'll recap. Now, with all the stuff in front of me, I'll probably won't be able to depot all of the stuff that I want to. Because again, I bought 3 of these and I thought that would be good. And then last night I was swatching more stuff and it's like, you know what? Someone else could be a better home for this. So that's what I want to try to do. So let's start off with what's going to go in this one. So the face palette. So for those of you who caught Graveyard Project Pan, the Physicians Formula Butter Collection. Now, this is a nice palette. I did buy this one myself. This shade did break. So keep that in mind. But the reality is, so we've got 2 bronzers, 2 blushes, 2 highlighters. These bronzers, Sunset Bronzer will work for me as a summer shade. And as you guys can see, like, I think I'm close to hitting pan. So I do want to keep that one. But Deep Bronzer just comes across too orange on me. Apricot, it's not my favorite blush shade. So that one's going to go. Wildflower, you can tell I got more use on that one. But it's still not my favorite. Whimsical just comes off too metallic and glittery. And then Golden Hour I did use, and I used a lot of it because, again, it broke. And I have just a little bit left. This is a good summer highlighter for me, so I will use it for that. So that means I'm only going to keep these 2. That's it. I'm expecting this is going to break on me, so I will probably have to repress it. But yeah, so that's our before shot of that one. The other one I want to rip apart here is going to be very easy to do. This is the Ofra Mini Mix Palette Good to Go. So it came with bronzer, blush, highlighter, and a bunch of eyeshadows. Those eyeshadows have already moved over into my single eyeshadow collection. But the problem is, because I didn't have a lot of space, like especially with the bronzer brush that I tend to use, it's a big and fluffy one, it needs space, otherwise I'm going to get a whole bunch of other stuff in it. So yeah, I'm going to keep these. They're going to be really easy to take out. These are magnetic. It's really nice. So that'll be super easy. Then, okay, my guys. This is a lot of stuff that I would like to rip apart. Some of the stuff you have seen through other projects, some of this stuff you have not. I kind of divide these into like a level 1 and a level 2 based on difficulty for depotting, and let's just kind of talk through some palettes. So one palette, this was one of my last night decisions that I think I want to rip apart, is this one from Athr Beauty. This is their Desert Sunset palette, and it looks like this. So again, it's not a bad palette. I have used it a little bit before, not a ton, but a tiny bit. And the thing is with these, I mean, they're fine, but a lot of these shades you get elsewhere in my collection. And yeah, that's mainly, it's repetition. So like some of these I would still like to try and then decide if I want to declutter from there. But I know there's a few shades I can probably get rid of from this one. So we'll see how this one goes. This isn't going to be one of the first ones I declutter, but that's on the list for sure. Next one, I don't know if I'm going to do this one today, but it's the Lorac Pro palette. This is their, like, there's a little key so you're able to move all of these stuff around so you can change the orders around, and that's great and that's fine. I had rolled this one into my Use That Eyeshadow, as you could probably guess. But the reality is, I think, again, some of, like, I'll use a lot of these shades, so I'm not in a rush to depot this one. But some of them, like these two here, I don't think I'll use. I'll probably keep most, yeah. We'll see. I might still keep this one intact, because there's, like, some of these deeper shades down here. Like, maybe that one, maybe that, like. Well, this is what I'm going to have to think about maybe a little bit more, but it's kind of in that declutter zone. But I do know these ones are magnetic, and there's a little key and all of that, so we'll see how that one goes. If you just watched my Use That Eyeshadow project, the Wander Beauty Sweet Escape palette. This is a nice palette, but the mattes aren't very good. Like, even on a swatch, they do come across a little bit patchy. And these golds, I don't like these kind of golds. Like, they don't like how they look on me. So those aren't very good. The mattes aren't very good. So I want to keep, like, I'm maybe vacation mode. We'll see. I will swatch things as I go through to make some final decisions. But these fun, shifty, multichrome, duochrome-ness, those I want to keep. So, gonna rip that one apart as well. The Ace Beaute Nostalgia palette. This is one of my very few, like, very colorful palettes, and it's very, like, summer. Like, and I actually have had some fun with this palette. However, there are some shades in here that, if I were to roll them into Use That Eyeshadow, it would be, oh. So, I would still like to keep most of them, though. So again, it depends on space and how I'm feeling with decluttering. But what I will for sure get rid of, if I am ripping apart, Picnic, which is like neon pink, Camping, which is a red matte, Vacation, a bright orange matte, and Flip Flops, which is like this pinky purpley matte color. So just, again, where I wear my mattes in the crease outer corner, and then I do a lot of glittery funny things over the lid. And those ones are just too neon, too bright for me. So that's the reason for this guy here. The Hipdot Zion palette. So again, this is a very pretty palette. Here it is here. But again, it's very warm toned and a lot of like the reds, the pinks, the orange. So again, I have some in here that I will keep. Sandstone, Virgin, Maybe Maze, Surreal, Sublime, Vibration. That might be about it. Again, just how I prefer to use mattes and where things fit. This one kind of pains me, you guys. This was like one of my very first choice items in BoxyCharm when I first subscribed. It was a May premium box. And this is a Dominique Cosmetics Transition palette. And again, it is a stunning, beautiful, everyday palette. The problem, though, is it's all matte. And that's not how I prefer to do my makeup. And it's a big palette, which means lots of shade options. And it is designed for you to wear it as, you know, bronzer, blush, highlighter, setting powder. You can do like everything with this palette. Eyebrows. But I don't. And if I'm going to reach for a matte palette to finish a look, like if I have something more shimmery, sparkly, cream eyeshadow, liquid eyeshadow that I'm using, I'm going to reach for something smaller. So I'm not reaching for this as is. Now, there's not a ton I would get rid of in here. Honey is one of them. That's just too yellow for me. So I get rid of that one. One of these two, I'll have to re-swatch them again between cinnamon and coffee beans, and then coal and smoky. I don't use eyeshadow as liner. So, and if I'm going to deepen something, I tend to go with browns rather than blacks. And if I want a black, I've got them in my collection. This one, though, has a lot to rip apart in. This is the Ciate London Royal Edition palette. Again, if you are someone, like, these are not bad palettes, so don't get me wrong. It's just personal preference. So if you are someone who likes really reflective packaging for one, but you like very warm tone, red, orange, pink, like very intense in there, this is a beautiful palette. Go for it. But it's large, and I don't like as warm as these get. Like those pinks and the reds, they're not my everyday. Some of these shades also were a bit disappointing. Spectre, which gorgeous looking, it disappeared off the lid. Royal Blue's kind of hard to work with. Jubilee's patchy, so I would be tempted to keep those. What I'll probably keep, Palace Tiara, Palace Gardens, Diamonds, maybe Crown and Glory, King, maybe Queen, Castle, Royal Family. Also, that palette is gonna go. Now, these ones here are like not as simple or easy to pull apart as these ones will be. So these are kind of like a level 2, so we'll see how these ones go. First one, also from a Use That Eyeshadow, the Ciate London Spice Palette. This came last fall in BoxyCharm. And it's hard, it's kind of hard to open for one, so that's real annoying. Here's your color story. Again, you see that repetition, right? Getting into those reddy pinky tones. I had this one, Pumpkin Soup, rolled into a project for 10 uses, and it was okay. But the only shade, like, and I tried to replicate it. Because, like, am I going to rip a palette apart for one shade? Yeah, because it's pretty. What is that? That is in Moonlit, which is this one right here. It is a gorgeous lid shade. And anything else in my collection, it comes across to bronze, to copper, to white. So this one's actually really unique. And how I'll probably take that one out is I'm just going to scrape product out, put it in a little pan, and do it that way. So I don't have to try to figure out how to rip this whole palette apart. Especially since most of this is going to stay intact. So that's that one. This one, I just made a decision on, you guys. The Maybelline The Matte Bar. As you guys can see, I have hit pan. So there's a spoiler there on Empire for my Throwback 30 project, where my goal is to hit pan on. Brick House, I currently have in my Use That Eyeshadow project for 10 uses. And I was going to use this palette this morning. And as I was getting ready, I was thinking about it. And it's like, I may depot Empire because it is a nice pink transition shade in the crease. It works well with the shade Socialite, which is a cream eyeshadow. So I might, again, scrape this one out. But then the rest of this palette, I mean, it's, an all matte palette, which isn't my favorite. And these are colors you can get everywhere. Now, obviously, you guys can see there are other dips in here. So this palette has gotten some use. But just, yeah. Again, repetition. And then this last one, last eyeshadow palette. I don't know I'll rip this one apart today. We'll see. Because it's going to be difficult. The ABA, so the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina. This is the Pro Pigment Volume 1 palette. This was from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Takeover box, which was July 2 years ago, I want to say. It was this option, or I think it was volume 3, which is like very orange, green, brown. And purple is more fun. This is what the palette looks like. Again, very colorful. One of the most colorful palettes I own. But it is very big. It is very bulky. And a lot of these colors I just truly don't use. So what I would keep, and again, these things can always change. A1, That one's really pretty. Maybe A2, maybe A3, maybe A4, maybe B2, B3, B4, B5, maybe C2, C4, D2, D4, E1. I think that's what I would keep. Because again, you want to keep those unique colors, and this one seems very difficult. I've watched some people rip them apart. I might just do the scraping out technique and repress if that works better. But that's what we're working with. Those are the palettes I want to rip apart so that they actually get more use than they're currently getting. Because a lot of these palettes, as they stand right now, it's just repetition within my collection. It's not the color story I enjoy, or because of the way the palette's set up, I'm not inspired to use it. And when I'm not inspired to use something, and I've got my eyeshadow usage project, I want to be excited by what I'm rolling in. So that's what we're going to do with today's video. So without further ado, let's get into the ripping the palettes apart. All right, guys, hello. Welcome to my dining room table. So a couple things to get us started. Paper towel down to protect the table. I've got paper towel handy for repressing, setting down eyeshadows as well. With me, you're gonna need a box cutter. This is what I found to be super successful for ripping, especially like level 1 palettes. Pair of scissors as well to cut off the mirrors. If I need to repress, I've got my Life brand or rubbing alcohol compound. This one is the 99%. So again, just a little bit of that liquid there. To disperse rubbing alcohol, I use this little thing. I don't know where my husband got it from, but he works in a chemistry lab, so it comes in really handy for controlling how much of the alcohol you want. I have a whole bunch of brushes in here as well, which I use. They've clearly had better days. But like something like this to break up eyeshadows if I am going to repress them. I've got some dried out makeup remover wipes. This came in a BoxyCharm. I really don't use them very often. So I've got these, and they're going to probably need some micellar water. So I've got the Mary Kay one that I'm trying to use up. So if I need to swatch things, clean stuff up, that's my system I'm going to use for that. Before we get into ripping palettes, I'll show you guys what I currently have for my single eyeshadows. Again, still those Mary Kay Pro palettes. This is the first one here. So you've seen these before. Elizabeth Arden, Ofra. These are also Ofra blushes. These are Cab Cosmetics. So that is the first one there. And then I have the second one as well. So again, Mary Kay on this side. And then I have some stuff I've ripped apart. So here is that iconic London palette I ripped apart before. Another Mary Kay. Then we have all of these ones over here are from Ditto, the Venus palette, with the exception of this green, which is an Annabelle single shadow in olive. Now, as I'm looking at these, I do believe, if we go back to this one, this is an Ofra eyeshadow. I did keep all of them if it wants to come out. But this, it's a matte orange that's warmer than I generally want to go. I want to go more for a brown in the crease compared to an orange. So I am going to put this one in my declutter pile. Again, there's not much use on it. Someone else can get great use out of it. So I do want to take that one out. And then these blushes, I am going to take out and put them into this palette. If I can open it. This is what I'm going to depot face products in. I just didn't have enough palettes before. So I'm going to put them in here. These are magnetic pans, and a magnetic palette works very nicely. So it gives me slightly more room in here to work with. But I'm just going to sneak these around a little bit. A lot of these are either being held in place with other magnetic palettes or like these Cab tape. So actually I should go grab some tape because I'm probably gonna need them. Got my tape, so now I'm good. I know you can buy magnets, but I'm a little lower tech at this particular moment. So I'm gonna move this one out of the way because we're not gonna use that one for a bit. And I'm gonna start with easy mode by filling this one up a little bit. We'll just put this off to the side here. So I'm gonna start off actually with this guy. This is the Ofra, the mini mix palette, good to go. This is all magnetic, bronzer, blush, highlighter. So we're just gonna pull all of that out. Start with the pencil. Yeah. So I'm just going to use my pencil because that just fits in super easily, just like that. Now I'm going to put my bronzer there-ish, just because it needs more space with the kind of brush I use, which has been why I need more of these palettes. So nice and easy. Ofra does a great job with this. Gorgeous highlighter as well. Good. Emptied. I will keep it on hand. But for now, let's get into the Physicians Formula Butter Palette. Again, the only ones I want to keep, Sunset Bronzer here, and then the Golden Hour highlight here. So how I actually depot these, let's get into it. So first thing I do is I cut this off so it's easier to get in under here. So grab your pair of scissors. And you just do a little trim. Now, obviously, of course, you do want to recycle as much as you possibly can. Dispose of everything properly. Voila, top is taken off. And what that allows me to do is then take my box cutter. I have no idea what brand this one is. It's just the one I have hanging around because it's easier just to kind of go along here and start removing the glue. And I go down all of the sides. And you're going to see this process repeated over and over again. Okay, now this is where you need some gentle muscle strength here and just start peeling it back. And again, this is why you want the paper towel down in case things get a little bit messy. So as you guys can see, that glue is strong. Whoop. There we go. So we ripped off that back component there. All right. Getting the garbage pile started. Then what I do is I just kind of start working at peeling everything off. And this is what's fascinating about palettes. When I ripped it apart last time, is just kind of seeing how these things are made. The quality of these materials, because most people never see this. You gotta be careful as you do it. Otherwise you can start making a bigger mess. And what that allows me to do is now these pans are a little bit more exposed than they were previously. This is, I think, where I'm gonna stop. And I'm gonna start with this highlighter because that's the one completely exposed right now. And this is the difficult part. So I'm gonna try to break the packaging to make the pan a little bit easier to pull out and just kind of work my way around. You do have to be careful because obviously if you start bending things too much, you can cause cracks in the other product. So, and this, because there's not much product left in that one, I am concerned that it's going to start, whoop, breaking. Oh my goodness, that did not break. So it flew out and it's still intact. So again, not much highlighter there. But that is one I want to keep. So we're going to have to play some, yeah. And see, it's not magnetic at all, which is not unexpected. And there's usually some extra packaging on the back that you want to just kind of rip off. Pretty stuck on there. So you know what? Fine enough. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. Just because these things do get messy. Yeah, like this wipe is like completely dry, so bringing over my own micellar water to revive it. Just get a lot on there and just kind of clean that pan off a little bit. One of the things that I try to do, and I wasn't very consistent with it, is I do want to identify what these were. So I'm going to flip it over right on the back. PF for Physicians Formula. This is Golden Hour. A little bit hard to write on them sometimes. I'll worry about my placement in a little bit, so I'll just kind of plop that in for now. I also want to keep Sunset Bronzer over here. So I try to work from edges as much as I can. So I'm going to go back over to this side here and see it's kind of peeling up. Let's see if I can get under that. And just kind of go around and plop it right out. This part is still fairly intact, so I can just kind of set this one off to the side. And there we go. You can maybe see it, a little bit of cracking here around that pan, so I'm just gonna press it in just a little bit so it doesn't go anywhere. Same thing, PF for Physician's Formula. Really hard to write on the back of these, but there we go. So I've depotted both of these successfully. So let's bring this guy back and let's see what I can do to make things fit the way I would like them to. Get some more tape, a little bit around, try a different spot. And yeah, it is because of this backing still sitting on there. So that's when you go like, yeah, okay, I guess it's got to come off. So just and then that's sometimes where I get strategic as well, is like I use magneted pieces to hold the others together. But this is kind of what we're looking like right now. So we've got 3 blushes, 2 highlighters, and 2 bronzers. They just have to be a little bit creative that way, but voila, this palette is going to be done, and we're going to move on to eyeshadow. Moving on to eyeshadow now. So I do have 2 empty Pro palettes here that I can fill, and kind of depending on how things go is going to be the major indicator here. I think I'm going to start with the Ciate London Royal palette or Royal Edition palette, because again, most of these in here I do want to actually get rid of, and that's going to really help my eyeshadow count. So same thing to start. You'll see it has the same kind of packaging, so we're going to do the exact same thing. So step 1, grab your scissors. Oh, and that just cuts much nicer than the last one. All right. Lid off. Box cutter. Now, again, you kind of work your way around to separate, in this case, the silver part from your back plates. And yeah, it's just peeling right away, which is why I do recommend cutting off that mirror. All the way around. There we go. Okay, and again, the tricky part is trying to keep, oh yeah, nice and easy. Back part is now ripped off, which means you can now go in and start peeling off the silver base here. Get eyeshadow everywhere. Oh, this one's going to be harder to do that for, actually, you guys. So yeah, the difference is in the construction. The last one was really easy to do this. So again, pull out your cutter. Can we get under it? There we go. And again, that allows you to expose a little bit more of that pan, right? Exposed pan a little bit more versus our unexposed. This one, you can see, right, there's not a lot of give to it. So this one's actually going to be a little bit more challenging to rip apart. See here the thickness of all of those different cardboard pieces. Versus if we go back to Physician's Formula, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, yeah, they have 4. This one's just a lot sturdier than this one was. Now that could be due to age. I've had the Physician's Formula for quite a while. But this one's feeling so sturdy. I think I do kind of need to see if I can get some of these layers just slowly peeled back. And yeah, see, that exposes that pan just a little bit more. One of the shades I would like to keep, so then just go in with your box cutter and just sneak. Oh, see, and you have to be careful. See, I just cracked it a little bit because I haven't gotten enough of this exposed yet. Because sometimes you can just do a little up. Now, again, that's going to happen, especially with these harder palettes here. So I'm just going to kind of repress it a little bit with my finger. And there we go. So this, I'm expecting some breakage to occur, unfortunately. So Ciate London at least is doing a pretty good job with their construction to make sure nothing's happening to your eyeshadow. I'm going to set that one over there for now. All right, get rid of that loose stuff. Okay, we've just lost that one. We had a casualty. Now I can choose to repress it entirely, which I might do. I do like that shade. So I'm just going to try to gather it up as much as I can. The good news is if something completely breaks, I can use this shade for a different eyeshadow pan. So we'll just now try to gather as much of that up as possible. And it's okay that it's pre-broken because you're going to have to break it to repress it anyway. So that's what I'm going to take. And I'll just set that off to the side for now. Okay, fresh set. Never claimed to be an expert at this one, you guys. But we're just going to go in, try doing the exact same technique of trying to rip off this outer layer here. And now, this is the shade Diamonds. Just try to go in all the way around first, as much as I'm able to with this other pan in the way. There we go. Beautiful. See, and it's trial and error, honestly. So it just takes a little bit of time. You learn from your mistakes as you go. We've got that one done. Oh yeah. See, now this one, right, that's a lot of breakage in there. So I might deliberately break that one. We'll see. I'll just place it here for now. Because that one's looking pretty beat up. Completely emptied out there. To my garbage pile it goes. Now, we've made quite a mess, which is again why I recommend the paper towel. And of course, if you're more experienced than I am, which most of you may be, then you will have probably less breakage happening. Now let's take a look at this one here. Yeah, like this one's so beat up here. Like we've got pan showing on the side. I think what's probably best is I'm going to take the end of a brush and just rip this all out, because this one's a little bit too far gone. So I've got 6 here that I'm going to keep, 2 over there that I need to repress. And again, is it the prettiest? No, but it's fun. That was a doozy to start us off with. So let's go into our next palette. I think what I want to do next is the Athr Beauty Sweet Escape palette. So again, beautiful palette, but I am just going to keep this, this, and this. So 4 out of these shades. So same thing. Let's do this. Hopefully this one goes a little easier. This palette is so messy. Like I've only used this palette not even 10 times because that's what I was going to use this eyeshadow for, or use that eyeshadow for. And all right, mirror off into the pile. Again, we're going to start breaking down these gaps. So work your way around, all the way around. Peel it back. Easy peasy. Yeah, see there's a little bit more give in this one than the last one. You can tell already. Now to get under. So you can start peeling. Yeah, see in this one is only 2 layers thick as well. yourself off. Because again, this is a messy process, at least on my second attempt of depotting this stuff. So, and yeah, much less in terms of casualties because of the difficulty levels. So this is the next palette, the Hipdot Zion. Do the same thing. Next, I think I am going to take the Ciate London palette because we do have, remember, this empty pan that I accidentally destroyed earlier, and we are going to put in that one shade that I want to keep. Now, obviously, I'm not going to rip this one apart the same way because you've got all of this outer container here. So what I am going to do is I am going to grab the end of the brush, make sure it's clean. And I'm going to scrape some of this one out and put it into here, and we'll pre-press it later. That might be all I need to do. This is a very soft. Like, as you guys can see, like, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous color. That might be all I need to do for this. Yeah, because that seems pretty, that's solid. Awesome. And there we go. That one is done. All right, I think it's time. We're going to do the Dominique Cosmetics Transitions palette. This one, it hurts me the most. Like, the packaging is just so beautiful. This is a little bit nostalgic to me. But again, I know myself, I'm not using this the way it is. So let's do this. Okay. magnetic. Oh, that is so nice. Thank you, Dominique Cosmetics. That's the first palette I've ever ripped apart where the stuff is actually magnetic. Oh my gosh, I am loving that. Thank you. Kept a lot more from this one, but that's just so pretty. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some of these more pops of color into here. So we're gonna take over, because then I would get use out of the Athr Beauty stuff. So we'll pop these over on this side here. Take this one. Right now I've got some options to put all over the lid to go with this stuff. So that makes me much happier so far. So we might do something like that. It's not a perfect system, but I'm going to tape those down so we have all of these ones together, and I still have a bunch of room left in this palette over. So then let's go with the Ace Beaute Nostalgia palette. Again, I'm not reaching for it in this form because the colors are a little bit overwhelming. But pairing them with some of these other neutrals, I think that's going to be a good way to go. So let's do it again. So nothing's set in yet, but this is what I'm working on. So we've got 9 of the Ace Beaute shadows. Again, these are my very colorful kinds of options in here. And I'm thinking, because I have this matte pink, if we go back to the Maybelline Matte Bar, again, it's just a lot of repetition in my palette. I don't think I need the shade Empire. So I might just not do any pulling out of this one and just simply go like that and call it done. So there's still a little bit more room in that palette. I think I'm going to go into the Athr Beauty palette. This is probably going to be the last palette that I'm going to rip apart and just simply take out some of these shades in here. There's also Magnetic, so I kept 4 shades out of that one. So Twilight, Sunrise, Sunset, and Afterglow. These were the ones that kind of shattered on me. So I'm going to need to do a repressing of them. And they're not going to be a nice simple repressing like that one we did where it's like just push it in. So I'll just show you how this works. So I take a little makeup brush. Try to pull that bottom off a little bit. And what we have to do is absolutely destroy the eyeshadow. Get your alcohol. Just need a few drops of it. Try to start mixing that up. Then absorb. Yeah, I did not do a good job of that, but oh well. Absorb that alcohol back up. And then you're going to want to leave that to sit so it can set properly. I do. Let's do it just with way less. Just a quick final shot of this palette here. So here we have on this side the Ciate Royal Edition palette. Here in the center, the Ace Beaute Nostalgia palette. And then down here, which were magnetic, so nice, the Athr Beauty. So that is really exciting. That means the only palettes we didn't get to. This one, which again, I still think I do want to keep most of it anyway. So we'll see what I end up ultimately deciding with this one. This was a last night edition. And then also still to consider and to plan out is the Norvina palette. Again, because most of these shades I'm going to leave in, I might just scrape out. So I'll have to see. I'll have to do some research to see if that will be a viable option. But let's just do a quick recap. So quick recap, of course, this is my face palette collection here. These two Physicians Formula, the rest of this is Ofra. So that is really nice. So not a full 100% declutter of eyeshadow here. This was the first one that I had done for the eyeshadow with a quick little readjustment on some of these. Again, Elizabeth Arden, Cab Cosmetics, one Ofra here. And then the rest of those are the Hipdot Ciate palette, which is a new addition in this palette. Then we moved on to the second one I already had built. This one basically stood and stays the same. Mary Kay, Iconic London, Ditto Venus palette, and then Annabelle for that one there. And then our brand new builds that we have. This first one being more kind of everyday. Dominique Cosmetics, Ofra, Ciate Spice palette, Athr Beauty, the Escape palette or Sweet Escape palette. And then the last one being the more colorful option that we have here. Starting with, so this is our more colorful option here, starting with the Ciate London Royal Edition palette, the Ace Beaute Nostalgia palette, and then that Athr Desert Sunset palette. So those are my singles, and I still have a little bit of room in some of these, but not a ton of room. But that is really exciting. Remember, we did declutter 2 eyeshadows, the Ofra, and then this Cab Cosmetics, which were already in there. So the rest of them still like a pure declutter. All right, so we have gone through the ripping apart of a ton of different palettes and a couple face palettes, a lot of eyeshadow palettes. Apologies, did have to change my shirt because I had eyeshadow all the way down the front of the shirt. Probably from trying to rip things apart. So if you were seeing that the whole video and being driven crazy by it, apologies. But this is where we're at compared to the massive stack I had before. And I'm feeling better, right? There is a difference to me between having eyeshadows simply just sit and not being used versus trying to take them apart and see where I can rehome them. Again, for a lot of these eyeshadows, they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just color preferences. Some of them I have better. So again, as long as someone is getting use out of it, that's what's most important to me. Now, I did a count after I finished ripping everything apart, and including the 2 additional ones from previously in my single shadows, I have decluttered 50 eyeshadows out of my collection. Which again, depending on the size of your palette, that's a couple of full-size palettes right there on its own. So that makes me feel better again, because now I'm getting my collection down to what I like, what I want to use, what I'm excited to use. And that's what the declutter plus that use that eyeshadow project is really all about. And as I'm learning my more curated collection now, again, I can further make decisions on what I want to declutter. Now, of course, this has taken me a very long time to film. I'm not sure how long it's going to be for you guys to see it, but for the people who like to know the real-time stuff, again, keeping in mind this was only my 2nd time depotting eyeshadows and the experience of all of that. This took me about 2.5 to 3 hours once everything's all said and done with the prep, the cleanup. Like, I was filming for quite a while, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you did, and if you want to see future eyeshadow declutters done the same way with me showing you how I rip things apart. Again, that first eyeshadow palette maybe wasn't the best one to do first because that was the most difficult one, but it is done now, and you've kind of seen a variety of palettes and how I do it. So with all of my decluttered eyeshadows, the 50 from today plus the previous ones, they're all in here. So lots of eyeshadow to bring home, but that is going to wrap up today's declutter. Thank you so much for joining me for what I'm sure was going to turn out to be a very long video. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video very soon. Have a wonderful day.